Looks like we're good. All right. So this is my new podcast, and my name is Henry Harper, and I'm here with my first guest, Oscar. We've been thinking about doing this podcast for a long while now, and I think it's about time. We were doing it right before COVID started, and then that hit, and we just all went into lockdown, and we kind of just put that off until it was time to finally get together and make sure that we aren't in a crazy situation where we have COVID-19. So it's been pretty good. How you been with staying indoors, man?
Yeah, I've been fine. I mean, everything's been, I think I barely started noticing the quarantine stuff, recently. Because, for the first month or two, it was the same thing as I was doing before, except just not working,
Right.
It's I was just staying at home, playing video games, and I interact with the majority of my friends just online playing video games, So there wasn't a whole lot of me going out and partying.
Right. Everybody just adjusted to your lifestyle.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was pretty fine. Everyone was losing their minds after the first month, and I was like, there's a quarantine, I was like, I didn't even feel it.
It's like there's a lockdown? What do you mean? What do you mean we can't go out? I haven't gone out in ages.
Yeah.
Hi, got you beat, guys.
Yeah, so I was much more well suited for the quarantine.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk to you. For me, it's this whole thing has been a journey. I hate it, and at the same time, I'm realizing that maybe good can come from all of this for sure. Because I found myself more times in being confronted with having to actually deal with things that are going inside of me. So I've managed to actually find out more about who I am and what I feel like I'm meant to do, than all these daily distractions of, oh, let's go to the club or let's go hang out here and there, and it's been challenging. It's been rough. I hated it. I hated being inside, but at the end of the day, I can look at myself and see this, see the transformation that I've gotten, and I feel very positive about that. So after all this time, I curse it and I bless it, but for the purpose of making me personally a better person. So hopefully that goes a long ways, and we all will remember COVID-19 and how it transformed a new generation and a new group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man. I mean,
Dude, it was rough, bro. It was a rough couple of weeks. I was just like, what are we supposed to do now? I used to have a great routine where I would just get in my car, go to school, and then come back, and then have my little dinner with my daughter and everything, and it'd be a fun time, because it was a structured, nice routine that I already had. Yeah. And then once you take that away, a lot of people struggle with trying to find out what are they supposed to do now,
purpose, and all that stuff. I mean, even finding your own things to do.
Yeah, I switched my career a couple of times, and I'm just like, should I be a nurse? Should I be this? Should I be that? I'm just like, well, I really love podcasting, so I'm just gonna do that. And thankfully, I managed to build my backdrop. And
good, man.
Yeah, that's a funny story to that, because I had an email from one of my professors, and it just felt like they were interpreting and writing the current events to young impressionable students that may understand this, and then automatically try to put the blame on specific people, and it's kind of crazy because we don't know all the facts, for sure. And so I was like, oh my God, are you serious? You're really trying to brainwash the youth and all this stuff. They don't know that much about politics. I think your job as a professor is just to pretty much just teach the class. Don't interject with your personal opinion. You can comment on it, I believe, but put a brief warning, this is just my personal opinion. You should not, in any way take that full-heartedly. Take it with a grain of salt. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody has a butt. We all got one.
Yeah. No, I mean it's this whole thing. I'm glad you're seeing the positives of it.
Yeah, sure, man.
I've been optimistic, throughout most of you know, the changing times. Like I know we're going through a lot of just a lot of civil unrest and all that stuff right now.
Yeah.
But as bad as it may get, I'm optimistic that people, the average person who is not really aware of the goings on, will be able to see these things and then think, okay, well, I'm obviously, I obviously have to do something now, because that's like, for the majority of my life, politics was never a big deal to me.
Here's a result from search.
Oh, damn it, Google. I'm telling you, man, they're listening.
They're always, hey, FBI guy, how's it going?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're just on autopilot for the most of like, oh, who's president, who's this, who's that.
Yeah,
like,
you're just going out with your daily current.
You never really care,
Do you remember when we had the whole Tiger King thing going on, and we were just talking about that? Like,
that was
like
the
it was
biggest
like
thing.
It was like the perfect time to like go ahead and like everybody was able to watch it, and you were able to talk to it about it with everybody.
I mean, it related everybody together.
Yeah.
We're like, if you haven't seen it, you're missing out, and so whatever.
It's like, what? There's crazy people.
Yeah, what?
Running a zoo? What?
Yeah.
Full of cats? Okay, wow.
It's like I never even knew.
Yeah,
the weird, elaborate, scheming business that owning tigers was. That's so weird that that just popped out of the blue. But it was a fun time, But but I've always been optimistic. Like I feel like people, having to see what's going on really, and how like radicalism on any side of the spectrum,
right?
Anybody who starts pushing radical narratives and stuff like that to try to oppress people and all
and
that
divide
stuff.
us.
Yeah,
And
I
conquer.
think the average person is just gonna be like turned off by all of that, and start to just pay a little bit more attention. And I feel like people are coming around to like, oh yeah, like this stuff is a little bit more important than I was giving it, before, and I mean that's just kind of what I've been seeing. Obviously I don't like the deaths, I don't like the destruction, I don't like any of that stuff, and but I think that the positive side of it is that more people are gonna come around and realize that
It's like, hey, we need some freaking common sense around here for sure.
we need to do something to get on the ball. But yeah, man. I mean, that's just the stage that we're in right now.
Yeah, like the whole Milwaukee incident for me, that was just like for me it just felt like such a shame. Like people are the government is not being trustworthy enough to put a stop to anybody on both sides.
Wait for the shootings, or which one?
Yeah, like there should be no reason why a 17-year-old feels the
that was Kenosha.
Kenosha, that's right.
Kenosha,
Milwaukee, Wisconsin or Milwaukee? Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's
yes.
the state. Milwaukee's.
Yes.
I think it's like the same as Chicago.
Yeah, it's like a couple minutes away or something.
Yeah, but yeah, Illinois is close by.
Yeah, there should have been no reason why a 17-year-old felt the need to go in and try to protect this fucking place. Like, there should be people who take care of this sort of thing and keeps the peace. Like this kid,
they're called police.
Yeah, like this kid kind of took the cue to try to help people in his own way, because he felt abandoned by the government and those that are supposed to protect others. He felt the need to go out there and be a medic.
Which I as sad as it may seem, I feel like we need more of that. I feel like we need more people willing to stand up for what's right, regardless of what your political opinion is. It's not right to destroy, loot, and hurt people just in the name of anything. That's not how you get your political point across.
Right.
That's not how it's done. And so I think that's what we need more of, especially because right now there's this whole defund the police. Police morale is low. They're winning. and they're shutting down police departments left and right. You know, it's a horrible.
It's creating chaos. If anything, we have more of a media problem because they overblow the facts and it gets people outraged, and that's how they make their money. I mean,
and you can go out us further.
Yeah, it divides us further, and so we go ahead and believe this trusted sources, and we go ahead and trust, you know, what we see on video and later we see a different video, and it's just, it rewrites the whole narrative that they were pushing. And you know, that's how media companies make their money. They're obviously out to censor the truth or misguide it or rewrite it because it makes, you know, it makes people fan the flames of war and hatred for another, when in reality, you know, there should be no need to, yes, you should be able to point to the wrongs that society has, you know, created, so that nobody gets left behind. But they're not doing that. They're going about and trying to start, you know, civil wars just for the sake of likes, or we're reporting like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like how could you not be enraged?
Let me make this the point. Okay. Then the like, this is the main problem, right? Is like you said, you know, the social, you know, like the media will just want, you know, clicks, and they just want to get you to, you know, the more impressions they have, right? The more people interact with it or whatever, share it, like it or whatever, the more money they make. But the problem is they know what will get all of these reactions, and is they just push the craziest, you know, oh my God, shock value that they can.
Yeah, that's why Florida makes pretty good headlines.
Yeah, and then they know that, like, it doesn't matter, because like they'll put it out, whatever, even if they amend it later and they go back and say, oh well, it turns out these are the facts. It doesn't matter. People's attention span nowadays are just instantaneous. They're gonna see a story,
8 seconds long.
They're gonna believe it. They're gonna take it for face value, and then they're gonna move on. And then 5 months down the road, they're gonna be like, yeah, like that one story where that guy just murdered 3 children, you know, like, just because he crossed state lines with a gun because he wanted to hunt people who were protesting or whatever peacefully, you know, like people will keep that and retain that because that's all they remembered about it. They're not going to go back and check facts and think that. They're just going to instantly be enraged by whatever the media puts out. And then that's all there was. And so like, even if like maybe even a week latest, they go back and they're like, oh, it turns out these are the facts. No one's going to care. Right. Yeah, no one's going to go back and dig that up. And only the people who are paying attention are going to be like, well, there's a lot more to the story, right? And then it just gets buried. And then another thing, you know, going back on the government, you know, it's the government's job and this and that. You know, President Trump has offered like aid to all of these places, right? All of these, you know, democratic, you know, governed and mayored cities and states. And they're, you know, he's offered the National Guard, he's offered aid of, you know, of all kinds and stuff like that, and they refuse it. So it's like, you know, Trump can't just send in the National Guard without the green light from these governors and mayors.
Yeah, he's not a fucking tyrannical dictator.
So it's like again, like he, you know, as much as he may want to, there's a limit, and that's why he was only able to send, you know, these, you know, FBI or CIA or whatever it was. I think it was like a special border patrol unit or whatever that he sent to those.
Portland? Are you talking about Portland?
I don't know if it was Portland. It was the one where, I think it was Portland, where he sent in the feds for the courthouses, the federal courthouses, because that's technically federal jurisdiction. So he was able to send, you know, people there to protect it or whatever. And then, you know, that's as far as it went. You know, he obviously can't do much more for the people who are actually there because there's a line and he can't cross that. But he's the only person in politics right now who is actually trying to stop the, you know, all these crimes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Democrat, you know, person in power condemn all these crazy acts.
No, as a matter of fact, they're in favor of it. Kamala Harris was like, we need more, you know, we need more of this, you know, protesting and stuff going on.
Yeah, it's easy to shift the blame, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is, right? But I mean, yes, it sucks that a 17-year-old had to step up and do that. But I mean, what's the alternative, right? Stay in your homes, let them run rampant, let them destroy our businesses and all that stuff, and just for the sake of it. Like,
Yeah.
I think like I said, I approve of what he did. I think that's, that was an incredibly courageous thing to do, is to put yourself out there. But it is sad to see. But I mean, I think that's just, we need more of that. We need people to be willing to say, no, enough's enough. We're not going to let you just come in and do what you want.
Yeah. And it's always like people that are traveling like from other states to this. And so like, I think it's kind of like people that are not even from that community coming in and trying to destroy it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. And it's like people were trying to make the case like, oh, he crossed state lines. That wasn't true either. He lives in Illinois, but it's only 20 minutes away from Kenosha, and he works in Kenosha. So like he's from there, he's just a hop and a skip away, right? Like that's just what it is. And the firearm that he had was actually belonged to a friend who actually lives in Kenosha. So the gun didn't cross state lines. So it's like all of this misinformation to try to make him seem like a monster who's trying to hunt people down just for having a political opinion. It's like that wasn't the case either.
Yeah,
but
he was rendering aid and all this stuff. And
I mean, there's a lot of facts. Yeah, and,
So my understanding of it when I first saw it, it was like I needed to know what all the facts were, because something didn't seem right. It seemed like they're always trying to make the news medium. The news media is always trying to make you outraged before you know the fact, regardless on what side.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're just going to take a break for now, and we'll get you right back. Thank you. All right, and we're back. I was just talking to Oscar here, and I think the perfect name for this podcast is The Gray Space, because not everything you see in life is black and white, red or blue. I think we all, as human beings, have to examine each issue and not automatically jump to one side or the other.
Absolutely.
And I find myself sometimes trapped in this bubble where we have to pick sides. And for me, I'd rather not, because it limits me on the possibility of solutions to a particular problem. That's what I find in choosing automatically which side you're on. And if you're not on this side, then you're clearly for the terrible, evil people that are being condemned just for not wanting to take a side,
Yeah. Well, and you won't realize that you're the bad person if you are so
right. It's not like everybody that's a terrible person is like, hey, I'm a bad person. Of course, like no, everybody.
Everybody, no matter what side politically or whatever you see, a lot of these people, they think they're doing the most absolute good. No one thinks they're the bad guy, right? And they're not willing to accept. Like if someone were to go up to someone and tell them like, hey, what you're doing is bad and it's not good, there's like an immediate like visceral response of like hatred and and I've seen it on both sides too. It's just fanaticism is dangerous, right? Like
of course,
like 100%. I support our president. I like him. I think he's doing a good job. But I have to keep myself from becoming a fanatic. I can't be one of these people who's like, Trump can do no wrong, right?
Right.
Like, and that's the mentality you have to have on either side. Like if you're, Black Lives Matter all the way and all this stuff, you gotta think like, where's the point to where, like, you gotta be willing to disagree with what you agree with at some point. Like you gotta be willing to say like, oh, well, you know what, this wasn't very cool, right?
Yeah.
And so that's I feel like an important thing to have an open mind, not just about other things approaching you, not just about like people coming with different ideas, but also about your own ideas.
Yeah, be critical on the things that you do agree with, because those things are the ones that matter and may affect others in a negative way. So you have to think about those consequences, like free healthcare. Free education. I agree with all those things. I don't think anybody disagrees with having free healthcare and free.
I think everyone wants that.
Yeah, but I think people like us, we see it where it's not feasible. It's not feasible unless you take away people's choice and you automatically just make them work for these things that should be essential. So like I would have thought that a long time ago we would have been able to agree on how to cut down these crazy prices that we have, because we live like right across Mexico, where you could literally go and get a nice little checkup, or if there's like a skin issue or just a cold for less than $40, you're good. It's insane. Yeah. Versus here, if you go to ER, 13 grand right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, there's
and it's just like an imaginary number that they just make up for you,
Yeah, and you, yeah, it's funny because like, I remember once going to the ER, and it was like, the doctor came in and was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, this and that." He was very polite and all this stuff, and like one of my questions was like, "Hey, so what's all this gonna cost?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't do the stuff. We have like a financing department.
Yeah,
You go and talk to them, and like so he just comes in and does what he needs to do, and then he just like, you go over there, like that's it. Next, he doesn't.
He's like, I just work here. I just get paid.
It's like, I don't know, man. I just work here. So he just like does the thing, and that's it. And so it's like, yeah, I mean, our health system is not perfect.
It's the best, but it's not perfect.
Right, and I think that's, the same thing with our justice system, and the same thing with our, with capitalism. It's one of these things where it's just like, it's like the best, but it's not perfect. It has a lot of flaws, and yeah. And I mean, that's just the way that it is. Right. And so going back to the, being critical of the things that you support and stuff like that, you got to have principles, right? Like you have to have your core values that, you're not willing to make exceptions for, no matter who is leading the country, no matter who is trying to represent your interests or whatever. You have to be willing to be critical and not bend at, like, oh, well, I usually am not for these things, but I like this thing, so I'm willing to change, some of what, obviously you should be willing to accept different ideas, but if your core principles have to, change because you want to accept something, not because it's what you feel is right, but because you want to. And that's that's what the danger is with fanaticism, right? Like you're just like a fanatic, and you're just like, oh well, but I love this, I gotta go with this, even though I usually feel this way. I gotta go with this because this is what I'm a fan of.
Yeah. And then it's those unreasonable people that kind of push you to go into fanaticism, because they want to just attack what you believe in for no reason other than you should be ashamed of who you are and who you believe in.
All right, which I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy on both sides, So like, I want to create an environment where people are able to talk to each other instead of this whole like, you racist pig, or like you left this you crazy,
bigot. You bigot, you libtard, and all this stuff.
Like we've gone a long fucking way, man.
Yeah, no, it's we've strayed off the path as Americans. This used to be a place of unity where everyone's ideas were valued. It's the whole I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Right, like we don't have that anymore. Now it's just like, oh, you don't believe what I believe. Screw you. You're this, you are that.
Your silence means violence. What the hell is that? Like, dude, I'm just having dinner, dude.
Yeah.
Have you seen those fucking clips now? They're just people disrupting your meal, just like, hey, like
you're part of the problem. Yeah. You're on the wrong side of history. And it's like, dude, I'm just having a sandwich. Right? Yeah, it's dude. Like that's definitely wrong. And it's like the same thing. Like I try to be very careful about like when I talk to people about my political point of view. Like I try to be very careful to just not be like, oh, I'm right. I am absolutely correct. Like I'm the tits. Like you need to listen to what I say, and
I'm woke. You're not.
Right. Like I try to be very careful. Like I try to tell people like, hey, this is what I think, but there's other ways to think. Like there's other things that are going on, and I don't agree with all of these things, but you should look into them to see if you do. Like it's a big topic, and I can't go around trying to be like, oh, you should think like me. That kind of mentality is dangerous too. Like all I really want to do is open up people's minds to the possibilities that are out there, because a lot of people are just, they're either raised a certain way and they just believe that this is the absolute truth, that like, for example, the color of your skin is the only reason that you can't get by in life. Like, I don't believe that at all. And a lot of people don't even think that that's an opinion. Like, people just think that that is fact. And I'm just like, no, I mean, that's really not. Like, again, no one's heard this opinion, so I try to tell them. And then, stuff like that is just like a small example or whatever. That might put the idea in their head like, hey, maybe I haven't seen the whole picture yet. Maybe I've only been shown one thing and that's all I know. So again, that's what I try to do when I talk to people. As I just try to give them my point of view, like what I see, my little contribution,
right? And hear them out.
Exactly.
That's the important part, because I feel like everybody just wants to talk about their own opinion. And I mean, I can't say I'm doing the same thing, but I feel like I want to create an environment. So the purpose of it is for people to listen to each other.
Right. And in my experience, people have asked me for what my point of view is. So it's like, it's not like I'm just going around like shaking people down like, hey, you listen to my opinion. It's just, I try to be reserved about my opinion, but when the topic comes up, I'm not going to shy away from it, but I do think, like, me specifically, I have been careful about certain people like in my life. I don't want to be like, oh, this is what I think, because then I know that those people might not be as like willing to have a civil discussion. It might just turn into an emotional, battle. And it's like, I don't want to fight people based on our ideals, because I don't believe in that. Like, I don't believe that, we should let our emotions spill out when we're trying to have a conversation about, say, politics or whatever, because emotions don't. I'm going into Ben Shapiro mode, right? I'm going into facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah, I mean, it's emotions shouldn't dictate,
your actions
or your political beliefs, right? Because it's like your emotions can be easily swayed.
Yeah,
so like you can easily be made to feel angry, and if your political, knowledge and your political, convictions are only based off of how you feel at the moment, and I mean, you're constantly gonna be, just going off of whatever upsets you, right? Like, you're not gonna be open to, other ways of thinking and so on and so forth. But that's kind of my whole spiel. And like, I like what you're doing here. I like this, creating an open area for people to just come in, discuss things, talk about things, and not be judged, and not be like berated just because they think differently.
Yeah, I think what I want is, like, best case scenario, just agree to disagree. And
of course.
That works great. It's okay to disagree.
Right.
We all have a different opinion. I just want everybody to be able to talk to each other. I recently took the 16 personality quiz, and I figured out that I'm a mediator. So I guess this plays right into my
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow. Like, maybe that's just the way I've always grown up. Like, I always want people to get along, and like, I'm just like,
be like the problem solver. Like, hey guys.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just crazy when there's always too many problems, and then you don't know how to fix them.
That's life, man.
That can be your weakness sometime.
Yeah, well, sometimes in a relationship, that's been my problem, right? I'm sure a lot of guys have gone through this, where like your girlfriend wants to tell you her problems, and then you try to fix those problems with solutions, and then they're like, "No, what are you doing? Like, I don't want a solution. I just want to talk to you. I just want to vent."
Yeah,
I think so.
Just let me be angry.
Yeah, and I think for guys, it's kind of weird, because like usually when we come across a problem, like we wanna fix it. We want to, like, what's the solution? How do you get through this? And it's like, so yeah. So
I've definitely noticed myself sometimes just being angry and being pissed off. And it's like, wait, let me be pissed off. It's like, well, I realize that also, like, my this kind of goes back to my childhood, and I think I'm a huge believer that your childhood follows you into your adulthood.
Yeah.
So like, I realized that I myself, like, am one of those people that I was never really taught to be destructive in creative ways. Like, there is a beauty to creation, right? There's like, the creation is also destruction is also a form of creation. So I think it should have been very important for me to be able to, like, destroy something that's like nice and neat for the purposes of being able to express something in a safe, positive manner. Like, if I wanted to paint my shoes however I wanted, I should have been able to be encouraged to paint them however I wanted to express how I feel inside. Instead of
right, so it's like you got a nice new pair of shoes, and now you just want to ruin them.
Yeah. You ever went through that thing in fucking elementary school where like a fucking kid would just step on your shoes just because they're new or some shit like that? That happened to me a lot in Mexico. That was so stupid, dude.
I think that's more of a I think that's more of a Mexico thing, right?
Oh, is it?
I don't know. I mean, definitely I know it happens here, right? But growing up, I never had that problem.
You never had new shoes?
Probably. Yeah. That's probably why. That's probably when no one ever came up to me. And but no, I mean, but that's very. I can see that happening, right? Just like someone sees you and they're like, "Man, the dude's got nicer things than I do. I'm gonna go ruin those things," right?
Yeah.
So, but no, but it's fascinating, like what you're saying about having that destruction as a form of creation. Like it's a form of expressing yourself and. Not having the ability to do so. Yeah, I mean, I can understand
in a healthy manner. Like a lot of people, like they go to a gym. It's you're kind of using your energy to kind of put kind of a little bit of a pain and pressure in your body. Like it's healthy. It's good. Overdoing it is terrible.
Right.
So like, yes, you should be able to express yourself and let your emotions vent in a healthy, positive manner.
Well, you got to have an outlet, right?
Yes, I mean, that's a great thing.
You got to have a creative outlet. You got to have, like a physical outlet,
Pick your poison sometimes, because not everything is all sunshine and rainbows. Like, if you want to drink, don't just overdo it. Life is all about balance for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, it's balance is important, because you're walking a fine line between, a hobby and a vice, and that could be to anything, right? Like if you said, a gym, like if you're just going to the gym just to torture yourself because that's, how you feel inside or whatever, obviously, that's just a vice, you're just trying to, you're just trying to destroy yourself because of whatever problems you have. And that could be anything too. Like I know people who can smoke weed and be productive, and I know people who just let weed dominate every aspect of their life to where they get nothing done and they stay in a rut for years. So it's like, between a hobby and a vice, you can't just let things dominate your, every sense of being just because that's something that you give all your power to,
Right. And it stops you from being productive. Like I'm one of those people that's like, I have to work hard and have fun. Like once I'm done, doing what I needed to do. Yeah. Otherwise, like I know that it'll hinder me, and that's why I tend to procrastinate sometimes, because it's just like, this is fun. I like doing this. I'm gonna keep doing it a little bit longer, but then like the work is like just building up for me, and I need to get through it. And it's like, well, there has to be a balance between fun and work. So
always.
Yeah. So I think however you manage life, I think you should always find a balance.
Yeah. Too much work is not good. Too much fun is not good.
Yeah. So that's why we are the gray space. And this is great.
Yeah. No.
Thank you for being my first guest, by the way.
Sure. Anytime.
I know that I had you on a different podcast, and I think this is a better fit for us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I am American and I love grape, but I think my whole aspect to life is make sure that you don't indulge in too many awful things, or you can't be all good, you nobody is absolutely all good. Like, I think for me, you can be as good as you possibly can be. I think that's great, but we aren't perfect.
I think for the majority, right? Like the majority of people alive today, right? Or at least, here in America and stuff like that. I feel like most Americans have good intentions. I don't think anyone's really going out there with bad intentions to ruin or destroy or whatever. I think most people have it in their minds that they're doing the right thing. But
that's also can be the problem,
right? When you're blinded by an ideology, by a certain way of thinking, by a political stance, right? It can
also be a religious stance. It can be too much extremism.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, that's the whole problem, with radical Islamic terrorism, right? It's it's not so much the religion of Islam; it's just those extremists that go too far in
the Spanish Inquisition,
all of that stuff exactly. Too much in excess is bad, right? So yeah, the same thing. I think everybody nowadays, like I said, during our civil unrest and everything, I think everybody thinks they're doing the right thing, but it's just, once you're practicing it, once you're, executing on it, it's not always the best outcome. It's not always the best intentions that are perceived by everyone, right?
Yeah, and I always want to believe that. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
I want to believe that everybody wants to do good, right? And everybody kind of agrees with each other, but they don't listen to each other on what their personal point of view is on the solution. So I think we're just talking past each other.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't listen because we believe we're right. This ethnocentrism is just kind of killing us in a sense.
Yeah, I think we all want to get to the same place, but we're all too busy bickering about how to get there.
Yeah.
That it's just taking us way longer, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's kind of like Dave Chappelle's, I can't believe maybe Sticks and Stones, I think it was, where he made the joke about the gay people and the LGBTQ in the car, right? So the same thing applies to just left and right views, right? I think for the majority, we all want the same thing, but we're just too busy arguing with each other about which way is the right way to do it, that we're not really getting any progress done, right?
Right.
So it's
I think cooler heads will always prevail.
Right, exactly. And that's why I respect politicians who are willing to work with other parties to get things done, right? I saw Ted Cruz, he was willing to work with AOC on something, on getting a bill passed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's that's the kind of stuff I'm in favor of. Regardless of what political party you serve, you should be willing and able to talk to other other politicians or whatever to get what is good for the American people done.
Yeah, for sure.
Regardless of what your
I'm really tired of this whole back and forth where they're unwilling to even talk to each other because of how extreme and radical
and
things
everyone's
have
too busy insulting each other.
Yeah.
Look, this person did this and that person did this.
And the media is hey, how do you feel about this person calling you this? And it's dude, you're just begging for.
The media is just fanning the flames, Yeah,
and they're just playing us, and that's why sometimes I feel like we should really examine what we hear and what we see, because it's not always what it appears to be.
Well, and it goes back to the coronavirus thing, right? So it's the media, right, will put this image in your head of what's really, of what's going on, but it's not really the case, right? For normal people, right, you walk outside, you interact with others and not a big deal. But if you're locked in your house, like we were in the first couple months of COVID, and then you hear all this negative stuff and it just gets put in your brain, and then just boom, chaos. Everybody takes to the streets and starts fighting, and because the media put this image in your head that all these unfair things are going on in the world, and people are being targeted specifically for the color of their skin, which I don't believe is true, and stuff like that, and boom, we got all this, here we are now with over 30 people dead from riots and all this chaos that's going on. It's unnecessary, but it's just the media just propagating this narrative of we have to fight and destroy each other for ratings. They just want to be able to get clicked on and make all this money.
Yeah, I'm glad that we agree on that part, man. I wish more people would see it that way rather than a red or blue issue or a black and white.
Yeah.
I definitely want to be able to eventually have more people of opposing views, because I really, I want people to express how they feel, and it's okay. I'm here to learn from. We're all here to learn from each other.
Right, and hopefully those people who have a different view can understand that we don't hate them for having that view.
Yeah,
we just
have to respect each other.
Right,
for having
exactly.
That.
And hopefully they'll see that maybe we're not all bad people, because it's at the end of the day, everyone's
everyone feels justified for their actions.
Right, exactly.
I was raised better, or I was raised the wrong way, so my new way is the best.
Yeah, or whatever. Or I heard this and I heard that, and therefore I believe this, and just goes back to what I was saying about. Just letting your emotions dictate whatever sense of, ideology you may have.
Yeah.
But and it's one of the things that I guess I wanted to touch on also was like having to do, I guess, with what we're talking about. It's like social media made it okay to like virtue signal. Like it made it the thing to do. You know what I mean?
What is virtue signal?
Well, I mean, basically, I'm going to put something on social media to make myself appear a certain way just because, right? Like I want people to I want people to know that I'm against racism, right? I'm going to do all these things in solidarity and post on social media. Look at me. Look how against racism I am. Where it's like, shut up, you poor Latino with a different opposing view. You don't know any better. Well, it's like, but here's the thing, right? Like, I think by nature, right, especially nowadays, having, knowing history and all this stuff, like going to school, understanding what's happened or whatever. I think nowadays most people are not racist, right? Like a good percentage of America, all of us, we're not racist, and nobody likes racism. No, and anybody who does gets, crapped on, so nobody likes racism, but people have to make it a point. Like, oh, look at me. I'm not racist. Yeah. Look how not racist I am. Likes, heart reacts, all this shares. Right. Like all this, so social media turned this whole generation into a look at me fest. Like how...
Look at my happy life all the time. I'm never sad,
Yeah, well,
if you're not doing this and traveling, then you're clearly not doing something right, like I do.
That's a separate issue, I think.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I think that's just a whole, another kind of worms. But basically, yeah, almost the same thing, but it's got different connotations to it, right? But I'm thinking like just here, like virtue signaling, like look at how righteous I am. Look at how good I am. Look at how good of a person I am.
Yeah, and like people that want to take pictures of themselves, like pretending to work, repair stuff,
Sure, whatever gives you that serotonin, release in your brain.
Those, oh my God, I got so many likes. Look how worthy I am.
Right, and it's like it doesn't really matter. And I was working with my dad the other day, and I sent you the quote, and let me look at it so I don't get it wrong. But he said this to me in Spanish, but I translated it to English. But here, let me see, where is it?
What did your dad say about you doing the podcast?
Oh, he likes it. He's all about it. He likes that I formed my own opinion, and that he had no influence on it, right?
Oh, yeah.
He respects that. Like that's a big thing for him, is that, today's people need to have their own opinions, not be swayed easily by whatever outside factors there are. But he told me this. He said, today's youth is more worried about getting a like on Facebook than their country. Right? And that to me was a powerful statement, because it's true, And it's like, you need to be worried about your country. This is what we're leaving for the next generation.
Right.
And he's really big on that, right? Like at the end of the day, like he tells me all the time, at the end of the day, I don't matter. He doesn't matter. You don't matter. But, the country matters. We need to do what is best for the country, because that's what's going to see our children or our grandchildren, That's what they're going to grow up in, right? A lot of people are like, man, screw this country, screw this, screw that. But it's like, no, man, you got to be willing to take care of it, preserve it, so that you can, pass that on for your children. You got to be willing to, think about the next generation, not your own.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I just want, a lot more people to understand each other. And that's where I hope to bridge that gap. I want to inspire people to be the best version of themselves, the true version of themselves.
Yeah.
You should be able to put your phone down for once and enjoy enjoy life through your own eyes, instead of seeing it through the lenses of your camera. Just look at because you've seen that, right? Where they're like just going out like, oh my God, look at this, and they're not focusing on like,
they're not living in the moment.
Yeah, it's like it's good to like remember these things, whatever, that's why GoPros exist. But like also you should be able to enjoy life as it comes and treasure the important part of memories is that they're fleeting, they're not eternal.
Yeah,
and that's why you should be able to find the beauty in letting it go as it happens. a lot of people, they always feel the need to like take a picture or something, and so that they can remember that it happened, you know. But it's like, no, you should be able to internalize that, learn from it, because like you said, you're just out there looking for likes, you know, instead of treasuring what's truly important,
right,
from a human perspective.
You're living for other people, not yourself.
Yeah,
you know, you're trying to validate your existence to others, you know. But at the end of the day, and this is something, again, my father preaches a lot to me, is just do what you want to do. Live in the moment and do what you want to do, right? Within reason. There's a balance, but it's like, if you're worried about criticism, that shouldn't be slowing you down from just doing what you want, because at the end of the day, no one can control your happiness but yourself, right?
Sure.
Like you got to do what makes you happy, and that's what's going to carry yourself through the rest of this life. We're only here for a little while. We're not here for a very long time.
Yeah. I think my biggest realization that I had today, was the fact that I felt like my parents kind of crippled me wanting to be creative and expressive, because I always felt like I didn't kind of deserve to have my own tastes and likes. Like, it should be like handed off to you. And now I'm realizing, like, no, I should have been able to always try new things and experience them and see if I like them or not. Because it's one thing to be told, like, don't do this, don't do that, but like, that's not how I learn. And so, like, I was always presented with choices, and like I had to pick the least of those two choices. So like now I'm seeing like that's been the really wrong approach to life. And now, as a 27-year-old man, I'm making my own choices based on what I want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt others and it doesn't hurt the integrity of the person I am inside.
Right, exactly, man. I mean, that's
pretty good observation, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it came to me.
That's yeah, it took you long enough, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
No, I mean, that it's true, man. That's the way to do things. Just live your life. You know, don't worry so much. Yeah. Don't worry so much, right? Like just do what you want within reason. You know,
especially if you're a people pleaser, I think you'll realize that.
Oh boy, yeah,
that you'll never please everybody.
Never, never, because everyone will always have a criticism about you. I'm gonna just say one more thing, and like about my dad, right? Like, because that's like, this is already the third thing, but he also said the same thing. He gave me a very just kind of like a funny example, right? He's from Mexico. He lived over there. He has a Ford 1970 something truck, right? So it's a nice truck for those times, right? He was a young man. He's probably like 18 at the time. I don't know, right? But he's got a nice truck, and they had just painted it. It was blue with a silver stripe in the middle, and then like blue, right? So it's just like blue, silver, blue. And then, he likes it. This is good, right? He drives back into town, and then the first person he sees is like, "Hey, you painted it. Oh man, you should have painted it the other way around.
Yeah.
Silver, blue, silver." And my dad was like, "Oh yeah, let me take it back right now. You're right." Now he's joking, right? But he just thought to himself, like, what is this guy's problem? Like, right? Like, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, nobody's gonna be happy with like, you're not gonna make everybody happy, right? But he was happy. He liked the color, and he's like, "Yeah, no, screw that." Obviously, like, he's just gonna keep on keeping on. But it's just so funny. Like, the first person he saw, it was instantly like, "Oh man, you should have done it the other way around." It's like, instead of just looking at, "Oh, hey, you painted it, nice," right?
It's like great, it makes you happy.
People, yeah, exactly. People will immediately want to give you their take on your life, on how you're doing and the things that are going on in your world, and have their own opinion about it. Like, it matters.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the audacity of thinking that your opinion matters about someone else's life, right?
Yeah, like, these are like long-term decisions, and you're gonna make them like, oh, like, I would have done it like this.
Right.
It will make you happier,
Right. But it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, you live your life, right? I'm not gonna come up to you and be like, "Oh, hey man, like, you should live your life this way," right? Like, nobody should do that. Nobody should go up to anyone and expect anything to change or whatever, because that's, only you can do what you want in your life, and you shouldn't expect others to, give you or make changes according to what they want. And it goes back to like to what you're saying, people pleasers. People will always, oh well, they're going to change this about themselves, change that about themselves, and keep going and keep doing all these weird things just to please everybody they meet. But how many people pleasers do you know that go around and their life is worry free, and they're just doing great, and they're just they don't have any complaints about the world that they live in.
Right.
It's like, no, it's like, at one point you grow up and you learn you're not gonna make everybody happy, and you got to do what makes you happy, and you got to live your life.
Exactly. That's a great. One of my favorite quotes is by Gandhi. It's like, be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah. So like when I see people, protesting at police brutality and demonizing, the police. What is a police force essentially in itself? Like everything, they're condemning everything that they stand for, including helping others. Like not everybody's a bad person, not everybody's a good person. No. But just going ahead and demonizing one whole section of society as evil, and it makes me feel like, well, the best way and the best approach for you to do this is for you to, become a police officer and want to change what you don't like.
Right. Like if you think there's a problem with police brutality, you should become a police officer and work to change that.
And it's a slow process, but I think if we can all do it together and do what we feel that is correct. Yeah, and know the struggles that come with it, because no job is perfect, and especially that type of life.
Yeah, but be the ripple that creates a wave of change. Just do your little part, right? And you may not see it. Like that's the thing, you have to.
That's why I'm doing this podcast, man, because this is what I want to do. Yeah, because I want to be able to change the way people think and feel.
Right. Be able to open up people's minds to other perspectives and stuff.
If you have a different perspective, come on my show or make your own podcast and just...
Or shut up, you bigot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I know. Right. Well, I hate those people that are always like, we're going to show you our peaceful ways by force, man. It's destructive. It's destructive to any society,
Right. No, and I mean, that's... it is what it is. We've had it too good for too long, right? So we were bound to implode, right? Forget about exploding. We're imploding right now. We're just like, everything is getting sucked into itself, For sure. And it's like other countries are looking at us like, what the hell's going on over there? Like, they probably don't understand
the most diverse and the most, diverse country that ever existed,
but somehow we're the most racist.
Yeah, it's like the melting pot, and of course, like they're gonna have a difference of opinion from all these different sides, and I think we should, learn to take care of each other and accept each other and respect that we have differences.
I think we should all come together as Americans, right? Like everybody here should just acknowledge each other as American, and that we should all love and respect our country, and It's like I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast with Ben Shapiro, and he was just saying, like, instead of like condemning the flag, right? Like we should be praising the flag. Like we should be holding it to a higher standard. Not saying that America is a garbage place and spit on the flag and burn the flag or whatever. But we should be saying that the flag should be a higher standard, and that we should all work to be the standard and the precedent that flag is, based upon, right? Yeah. Because we're coming from a long line of great people who've made great changes in the world, as we have it today. Today's generation is the best, right? Like we have it the best.
A lot of people paved the way and went through hardships so that we could have what we are today. Right. Kind of like gay rights or civil rights or any type of struggles,
right? Everything like
abolishing slavery. That was not
that was pretty big.
that was like slavery in a whole was like the birth of America, like by the British being handed down and having it be this system, and then like they just left us with that baggage. And it was hard because it's kind of like getting somebody addicted to something, something that they physically depend on. It's like abandoning them. And it's like, well, good luck,
Yeah.
It's like, you guys want independence, right? Well, here's we're leaving you with all these systems, and then you just figure it out.
Yeah, well, and we did.
It took a long time, and I realized, like, our founding fathers, they may not have agreed with slavery, but they wanted to definitely change it, but they knew that other people had difference of opinion. So in order to combat a common enemy such as the British, you had to give up certain aspects of what you did not want in a new country, because we're not a dictatorship or a monarchy. We were about to become a confederacy, and that when that didn't work, we became a constitutional republic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And I mean, that's what I'm getting at, like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, people before us did great things so that we could have the greatest lives possible. And
there's some people that did terrible things.
Of course.
Acknowledge those, learn it, and make sure it does never happen again.
Right. So history, we need to remember it. We need to make it, a very important thing to learn, especially for today's youth. But that's what I mean, man. Like today, this generation has it the best that anyone has ever had it. Like if you're a minority.
Yeah, growing up, I would have never thought we'd be able to speak to each other on pieces of glass,
Oh yeah, but I just mean in general, right? Like all the things that you mentioned, like civil rights, gay rights, all these different things, which is part of being an American is the pursuit of happiness, right?
Yeah.
I think nowadays you have the most open ground to achieve any type of success that you want in life, no matter who you are, what you are, no matter what you represent or whatever. Like I think nowadays you're just in the best time ever, especially if you're a minority, right? Which in the past hasn't always been easy. Now it's like the best time to be alive.
Right. Before COVID-19, I was noticing that Latina women became the main breadwinner in their family. Like, we're talking about a minority in which women are discouraged to work and provide for the family, and they're becoming like the top pay earners.
Our culture is pretty much like against that. They're more like women should be at home aspect. But no,
there's just so much toxicity in what we grow up and we normalize as well.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like in our culture, it was more normalized behavior, and same thing. Like it was frowned upon if you weren't a big macho man.
If you were divorced, even though your husband would beat you, kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
man, my dad was a bad dude.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that, and again, with every culture has their own toxic traits, but it's important to acknowledge them. It's important to acknowledge them, learn from them, and leave a better future for our children.
Like this race supremacy thing does not fly with me at all. Like,
no, of course not. Like everybody's got bad apples. Everybody, and
we all got dirty laundry.
Yeah. And so it's important to be able to acknowledge, like, here's I don't usually like to, say like attribute certain things to race, for example, but I will say this. I feel like a lot of white people today will be really quick to say like, oh, the Mexicans don't, the Mexicans are great, perfect, the most perfect people who could never do anything wrong, and Trump called them this and that, and I feel people like that are very quick to, but
is that the virtue signaling that you were talking about?
Maybe sometimes, maybe it depends on how you're doing it. If you're on social media and you're just like, oh, I would never this and that, or Mexican people are the great. Oh, well, here, okay, I'll give you one real example that I saw, and I was on TikTok, which is a cesspool for a lot of things, but but I was on TikTok, and there was this guy, and he's like, so he's an older white gentleman, and he's got a construction company, and he's on site, and he's the boss, right? He's just watching the workers work, and he pulls a Mexican dude up to him, right? This dude's kind of confused, doesn't know what's going on. He's just trying to get to work. And he's just looking into the camera, and he's holding it up to him, and he's like, this guy right here is such a hard worker, man. Like these boys are so, referring to Mexicans.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, these are the most hardworking people. I don't know any white dude that can do the amount of work that this guy does, right? Oh boy, right? Which is like, it sat wrong with me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it that he was just like, oh, look, I'm hiring these guys and they're such good workers and they're this and that. And they're so good people. It's like, that almost seems a little bit on the nose, a little bit like because he's not working. He's paying these guys to work, and he's over
like,
here.
Hey, I prefer these brown boys in order to get the job done.
Yeah, these guys hustle. I don't know. It just sat wrong with me because it's like that just feels weird that you have to make that case. It's like I don't know. It just
like an issue on race. Like, not the person that is
right.
inside. Like who was raised with these.
Why couldn't he just come out and say like Juan is one of the best working people I know, like hardest working people I know. This guy's cool, right? No, it was just like, oh, these boys, all these Mexicans, it's like, and I get it. He was trying to be like, I'm not racist, and I
appreciate the work and all that stuff.
But it just, to me, it's wrong.
Like, am I gonna get paid anymore? No. We don't talk about that.
No, of course not. Get back to work, hombre. But he just like was like, yeah, thumbs up. Like, look at me. I like Mexican people. It's like, I don't know. I think you're trying a little too hard. I think that feels weird. It feels weird. It feels disingenuous.
Yeah, like don't look at my skin color. Notice the person that I am and the ethics the work ethic that I have.
Precisely. And so going back to what I was saying, yeah, like white people are so quick to be like, oh, the Mexican people are such the greatest people that they have no wrong, they can do no wrong, and blah blah blah. Why won't Trump just let them all flood? Come across over here and come to the United States and open borders and stuff. And it's like, whoa, like
it's like not everybody's like that.
Not everybody's the greatest person you'll ever meet, man. And look, I'll be the first to say it. Is my race has problems. Culturally, we have some things that aren't cool, right? That we do, by nature. And I feel like everybody, white, black, Asian, everybody has these types of traits. Not every race. There's no perfect race. There is no race that has no problems. So when I see people going like, rooting for the Mexicans, saying like, oh, just let them all in and do this, like, there's some bad people in Mexico, especially right now. If you think about how the cartels, all that corruption is deep rooted into,
to government and politics
exactly,
over there. Yeah.
So Mexico's in a really bad spot right now, and there's a lot of bad people doing bad things. So it's
the inequalities is just incredibly disparaging.
It's terrible. And, people that come over to do, horrible things over here to benefit the horrible things going on in Mexico, those people exist. And that's what I'm trying to get. That's my point that I'm trying to get across, is that bad people exist in every race. So don't just make this blanket statement of like, oh, I just want to love all the Mexicans because they're all great. It's like, no, some of them are pretty bad people. Just like white people, there's some white people that are bad and want to cause you harm. There's some Mexicans that want to cause you harm and that are not good people. There's some blacks and there's some Asians. And so to just go out there and be like, they're all beautiful, wonderful people. It's like, look, there's some good people that deserve to be here, that will work hard and love America as much as any American. And those are the people we want over here. Those are the people that Trump wants over here. But if we can't properly vet them, if we can't put resources into our, border patrol, to properly, help the people who are really seeking asylum, not the people that are trying to abuse that to get into the country and then continue doing horrible things or take advantage of a system that's just trying to help them. We need to put more emphasis, and I think that just starts with having a conversation.
Yeah, because
a lot of people don't want to have it. They just want like, oh, I'm in favor of protecting our borders. Immediately, people will give you backlash, like, oh, you're a racist, you hate Mexicans and blah blah blah. And if you are Mexican,
well, what about Mexico's border? No, we don't talk about that.
No, Guatemala, there's no wall between Guatemala and Mexico. But yeah, so that's just kind of my my grievance is that, look, there's no perfect race, and to just assume that one race has only good people, that's not true. Don't let people, convince you that that you're the bad one, and that this is there's this much good and this much that. It's like, nah, like everybody, if you really want to look at it, everybody is the same. Everybody's got around the same around the same group of or number of people that are not good people, and we just need to be willing to acknowledge that.
For sure, man. I'm glad that you feel that way, that it's not all your way or the highway, and neither is mine, because I feel like that's where we lose ourselves most. So that's why, I have to admit that this podcast may have been the best idea of my life, and just let the dice roll and just let it happen. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. And that's all, as long as it doesn't interfere with anybody else's unhappiness,
Right.
then I think you're on the right spot of history, where it's that sweet spot where you realize that not everything can be all good or all bad.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to our podcast, The Gray Space. And thank you. Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for having me.
And you can go ahead and hit that button.